Okay. We are here.
Oh, good to see you, John and Jen in the house. Kristen Kruger, good to see you. Miss K Heads, thanks for coming in.
Okay, heads, you're working and lurking. Love that. Working and lurking. I was working all day out on the chicken coop because these chickens are ready to fly their little baby coop.
I know they are. They're definitely ready. They're like hopping up on things that they shouldn't. And like the other night, one was chirping really loud, and I got up to see what it was, and he had taken the lid off the food bin, and he hopped inside the little food bin. I don't know how he did that, and it was hard to get him out. So these guys they're ready to go playing outside.
Well, it's supposed to be 4 to 6 weeks before you put them out. It's only been a little bit over a week, I think, but they are getting big already. And good to see everybody. It feels like it's been forever. With all the homesteading activities, it's been hard to do our usual, which is typically we do 2 videos a day is what we try to shoot for. I think we do more than the typical channel when it comes to, putting out the videos. Actually, over 6,000. 6,000 videos and live streams in 9 years. It's been quite a fun ride with everybody.
I know. And who do we have? We have R Woods. Good to see you, Miss Christine Love, Elena, Karen Lynn. Good to see you, Puff Puff Pass. Good to see you guys.
It is time, DJ, and holy Schumann resonance, Robbie. We should look at that. You got pretty serious whiteout that we experienced. Yeah, it's been really, really wild. You could just sense the building. It is really building. And, here we are. It's April 12th. April 12th, 2026. This month is almost 1/3 of the way through. Time is flying. I really feel like time is just speeding up.
It is speeding up, and our days are really kind of wonky. I don't know. I can't really explain it very well, but I mean, sometimes time, a couple hours pass, it feels like 5 minutes, and 5 minutes goes by, and it's like a couple hours. I don't know.
Time is definitely different when you are spending it outdoors. I was up at I was a little bit after 4 in the morning, and we got outside with the first light, and we were just clearing space and getting rid of weeds and things like that. We're putting in raised beds and discovered some blueberries, and we have some wild raspberries too, as well as pecans and a whole bunch of different things growing naturally, which is really cool. But we're growing a lot also this year, and I right now is prime time. But most of the time was working on the chicken coop. All I have to do is attach the door and then attach the roof, the metal for getting rid of the rain. And then it's on to building the run. Then it's time to dig holes and put posts in and secure it all, so the foxes and the raccoons can't get to the chicken.
We're certainly doing everything we can to make sure. I mean, just check, and double check and do all we can. But, that Schumann, when it gets like this, it sure is interesting because it's not just about the earth. It's about our bodies. It's about, us feeling it at a cellular level. So usually when these Schumanns, I mean, sometimes people feel great. Sometimes people have headaches. Sometimes people get grumpy. Sometimes people get achy, but it really is something very interesting how we are so tied to the earth. So when the earth makes these comments, we hear her.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can see the white out there. That's pretty massive. We do want to thank everybody for their support over on Patreon. We're over 1,000 Patreons in total, because you could also subscribe over there as a free member too, but then you don't get to see the exclusives. But there are exclusives on Patreon and also on YouTube that we typically do on a weekly basis. There's like 355 or 360 paid Patreon supporters as well. So we're very thankful for you guys. It's just a wonderful community. You all are wonderful. And Isabella and Gary are wonderful. I was listening to them when I was out there working, and this was a fascinating discussion.
It was, and before we go on to this, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Miss Susan Donahue, and she did help us out over there on Ko-Fi, and that's another way that you can donate to the channel as well. Thank you again, Miss Susan D.
Thank you, Susan. Much love over there. Be very, very alert, all our friends on the West Coast. We're going to talk about a swarm that's going on. This was talking about ambrosia, the elixir of immortality and manipulation. And they talked about that A, D, Ren, C, stuff as well, and how it's different. Gary, real nice guy. Isabella, very gifted, very talented. These are, they just feel like such kindred spirits. I like them, and I do always listen to them when they have their discussions, just like I'm sure I have to catch up on Christoph. I haven't been able to catch any of Christoph's because I have to actually watch it, where you could work and listen to certain things, but with Christoph's it's all dubbed, so I don't speak Polish. But anyway, there were some things that we told you about the E-Man, the E-files, and these guys got the exact same thing they just shared today, what we had shared like 2 months ago. They came to the same agreement, the same disclosure, and that's why the ones that I really trust, like these guys and Christoph, when we hear them all of a sudden say what we said and we got from the guides, then you're hitting on all cylinders. When you start getting 2 or 3 channels, because this is what they do. Isabella uses tarot. I use tarot. She uses her crystal ball. I should make a new scrying mirror. I had made one years ago. Maybe when we get caught up, we could do a new scrying mirror. Different techniques for different people, and that's the thing. They got the same info that Cindy and I had on some major things, and concerning that Enki and Enlil people, those guys.
I know, it is interesting when things start to parallel with other people.
This is the exciting thing about changing into the Bronze Age. More people are going to be coming online, and abilities, like Cindy's or Isabella's, they're going to become way more common.
Indeed, and it's everyone's just going to have that ability, and it can be a little bit of a rough ride if you're just going through an awakening and you've never been through one. You don't even know what they are, and all of a sudden your body hits you with like 50 different things that's going on all at the same time, and you're like, what is going on? Well, you've just went up a degree in sensitivity, and those things that you shouldn't be doing, your body is going to speak to you a little bit louder, and that's the beginnings of an awakening.
Yeah, and basically, like when we had said, who did really the E-Man report to? Who did he really report to? Not ultimately Netanyahu, not even ultimately the Mossad. He was reporting to none other than the Enki man. Yeah, literally. He was reporting again to the Anunnaki, because they've just removed themselves to the shadows. But they're there, and they still control things here on planet Earth.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. Lots of great topics. Very enjoyable. All right, here we go. Well, first off, we got like 5 or 6, even more than that, right? No, 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 quakes between Tacoma and Seattle and over. Across into the Canadian side, and then we got ourselves a swarm over here. As you see, there's 18 right here. We've seen these swarms. The biggest is in the fours, so we've seen bigger than that. But it's the timing. Now we're in April of 2026, and we have war all around us. It's in the horizon. If you go back to what Cindy had gotten way back, she saw, again, a president that looks just like J.D. Vance taking over in the midst of the United States being embattled in WW3 and very, very tumultuous times. J.D. Vance was giving a speech saying, yeah, sorry, we didn't come up with an agreeable peace agreement. And so, it's a no-go. The war is still ongoing. I do expect J.D. Vance. It may not be this year, but I would think it is this year. 5.1 up in Alaska. But anyway, what Cindy had seen also was that there would end up being volcanic activity in the Pacific Northwest, somewhere between the United States and Canada, when the action starts to actually hit our shores. And we also saw the big quakes happening, Cascadia, San Andreas, and New Madrid, all happening relatively closely together. Seems like it's all coinciding. We've talked about prophecies, too, that show that those quakes might be triggered when there's a gigantic quake in the Middle East. When you look at some of the prophecies, and when you literally look at, Ezekiel 38 there, what stops the Islamic, the Gog-Magog war, again, you could say it's the war that unites the Islamic nations with Russia, China, and others, including Turkey, to do an all-out blitz on Israel. As we know, Israel is right now going from Israel into becoming Greater Israel. And the Greater Israel Project, again, in case you're not familiar with it, I'll bring up the map because, this is exactly what they are doing. And more people know about this every day. This is the thing. They're going to be going to an all-new level of big brotherhood. And I'm afraid that it's starting right now. There's some things that have happened that are very, very disconcerting that we're going to cover here. Greater Israel, this is Greater Israel, as you see. It involves a lot of other countries: Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, all losing territory to Israel. This is what is really going on right now with the war. And many people believe that, President Trump has been coerced into helping the situation from the Israel standpoint, making Greater Israel a reality. And here you see just after Trump's Truth Social post where he ordered the U.S. Navy to block the Strait of Hormuz. Did they say it's 12 miles across there? I think it's really narrow. It's like, I think it's pretty similar to going from Long Island to Connecticut. Like the Port Jeff ferry I've taken, if I remember right, that was 12 miles. It's not much. It's not much to block this, and it is a mess right now. They say it's mined. And it was interesting that some sources were saying that the only 4 mind-removing vehicles that we would have had to utilize that were retired right before this war started. There's no coincidences, of course.
Well, yeah, I was reading about the ships that would take out the mines that were at the bottom of Hormuz right now, and right before this war started, they were all taken and sent to scrap, so they can no longer be used. And these were important because they had wood hulls, and the wood hulls were important because these mines could sense if it was not a wood hull, and that they could blow up other ships. So it's very confusing right now. A lot of stuff going on, but that shows you, how deliberate this was. And, you don't just scrap out those very, very important vehicles, for nothing. And they just send them to the scrapyard.
So you see, readers added context. Every time I see readers added context, I think it's an AI bot that's adding, most of the time, it's adding the context box. And it says this first came out March 22nd, nearly 3 weeks before his recent Truth Social post. So what, you're supposed to ignore, the bigger point? This is the thing. They add this, and some people see this, and they automatically just don't look at it. And that works. It really does work. And this is how they condition people. So you look and you say, okay, there's a context thing, why would I even read it? Because, and some people are like that. Other people might think just the opposite. Oh, okay, there's one of these contexts, so I know it's actually exactly what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's in a lot of ways, though, we all know it's very deliberate too.
Everything is very, very deliberate. It truly, truly is. So yeah, what we're watching is the Greater Israel Project, which is fulfilling the Bible prophecy, which, as we know, there's huge elements, large portions of the United States military that are literally trying to fulfill biblical prophecy. And this is where belief systems become very, very powerful geopolitical tools. By the way, there was a pretty big landslide over in Italy. You got quakes going on. There's serious potential for big quakes between Italy and Greece as well. There's a buildup right now. This buildup, and by the way, if you haven't checked out Tarot by Isabella, please do. Very, very good stuff there. She's right in line with us, and Gary is too. They understand, their point of view is identical to ours pretty much. They understand the Anunnaki side of things. They understand the reptilian side of things. They understand the Illuminati side of things and all that too. So, Erdogan issues a final threat to Israel. Death is coming. Have as many nukes as you want. They're not going to save you. In case you don't know, Turkey is actually the second strongest military country in NATO after the U.S. as far as military stats and figures. It is a pretty powerful country militarily. And, coincidentally, that Greater Israel, they didn't list Turkey here, but as you can see, a part of Turkey is part of the Greater Israel plan. So that's also probably why Erdogan is getting a little bit more agitated and using stronger words, because Turkey is also a nuclear power and much, much bigger than Israel. But I do think Israel is going to be relying on extraterrestrial help, quite literally, AT technology that they have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a lot of that, and each faction has their own backup, and we're going to be viewing that a lot. And I think we have. I think it's already in the skies in many ways, the technology, but then I also think there's elemental thing going on there too.
So Turkey brands Netanyahu the Hitler of our time as Erdogan threatens to invade Israel. So, yeah, again, there's also more than one group out there, international commissions, that have literally put warrants out for Netanyahu's arrest for crimes against humanity. So, there's most of the world, the majority of the world is not happy with Netanyahu at all. And many of his own people are not happy with this. Because I do think, again, even in Israel, most people want peace. Most people do. It's just, again, the control system. What we have in the control system is people that are only out for themselves, and they never could have enough of anything. They must have a lot of Rahu in their chart.
Yeah, a lot of that want, gimme.
Yeah, never have enough, like Soros and all those people. In a speech following the indictments against 35 top Israeli officials, Mr. Erdogan said, had Pakistan not been mediating the war between the U.S. and Iran, we would have shown Israel its place. Just as we entered Libya and Karabakh, we can enter Israel. In fact, I've always felt that Turkey and Pakistan will end up entering this war. That's just my feeling. The officials, including Netanyahu, were charged with crimes against humanity, which led to Israeli Prime Minister saying Mr. Erdogan had massacred his own Kurdish citizens in a social media post. Again, when you look at all these leaders, none of them are good guys. That's just, none of them are. That's the bottom line that I think, it's wonderful that people are finally understanding. None of them have white hats on. No. And often all we ever do is pick, the least evil. But, evil's the key word. They are all evil when it comes to putting themselves, their family, their friends, their compatriots, their brothers in the secret societies, etc., above everybody that they're supposedly serving. No, they serve only themselves.
That's their favorite, and they're very good at it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and by the way, if you missed this, now this could be AI, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised, because if there was an element of truth to it, it's some sort of light that comes down by the dome of the rock and then takes on off. I think many people have taken for angels and demons, ultra-terrestrials. They could be, again, from inner Earth. They could be from under the ocean. They could be from different dimensions. Or they could be from other places, because there are other realms out there, not just here. Oh, no. In this war that's going on, it's intergalactic and it's interdimensional in nature. So here we have in a video message to the Israeli public Saturday evening, Netanyahu said the military campaign against Iran is not over yet, while highlighting achievements. Dear citizens of Israel's, my brothers and sisters, campaign is not over yet. But even now it can be clearly stated we have achieved historic accomplishments. Yes, there's been a hell of a lot of death, and it hasn't even really started in earnest.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Yeah, and absolutely, we don't want this. And when you think of just if you had the ability to just blink your eyes like I Dream of Jeannie and send him to Mars, could we have averted all this? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you guys remember I Dream of Jeannie? Gosh, that was so many years ago. Oh my. And by the way, Apple, U.S. company Apple, has removed or obscured the names of small villages and towns in southern Lebanon following the Israeli occupation, because they're not going to give it back. They are going to take it all over. They will rename certain places if it suits them. This is just an invasion. Because, again, they plan on taking over parts of half a dozen different countries. So you could see it's already working here. They're erasing names and leaving it blank. And pretty soon they'll rewrite borders too. Just like the Gulf of Mexico, that was only the beginning. That was a clue, a big signal that we're about to change all sorts of names of towns and places and bodies of water, land masses and everything, because this is part of that great reset.
Well, I think this is where it's fun to have your paper maps, because everything is so interchangeable on the internet.
Oh yeah, because I have seen. Thanks, Jen. If that's you, I think it's probably you. I have seen that a long time ago too. That one of the orb around the Temple Mount. Yeah, again, it's to me that
would not be AI.
It might not be. No, if it's 15 years old, that just kind of lends a little more, credibleness to it. So yeah, already starting to redo the maps. At least 7 massive U.S. Air Force C-17 cargo giants now in constant motion, flying back-to-back between U.S. bases in Europe, mainly Ramstein in Germany and the Middle East. Non-stop, relentless, no pause. Yeah, because we're bailing out of Europe. And what are we doing? Well, we're fortifying the Middle East for Israel, and then we're also getting ready to take on the next conquest. And that's really the word that Trump used. Conquest. What's our next conquest? What's our next target? Well, odds are it's probably Cuba, but it might be Greenland, or maybe it's Canada. We'll have to see. It could be any of those. When you think about it, I think part of the bigger purpose that's going on right now is from the globalist side of things. Make the U.S. use up as much of their weaponry as possible, Israel too, and then the other countries will come into the fray as they've been building up their weapons for a long time as well. And while we might spend a lot more, like if you take the U.S.'s military budget, you take China's military budget is a third, but they probably get a lot more for their money than we do because, again, we're spending hundreds on hammers. Literally. It's one big Ponzi scheme, as far as the military expenditures in the United States. Again, not that any of the leadership over in China or Russia are necessarily that much better. Again, it's always been a matter of lesser of the evils when you make your political choices. We need to come up with different systems. We need to come up with some safe zones. We need to take back the planet from these just always war-hungry, gluttonous beings, always in competition with each other at our expense. And by the way, large Chinese cargo aircraft landed in Tehran. That's another military type. So, this is also why Iran's been so much more effective. Because they were getting a lot of help from North Korea and from China and from Russia. By the way, we all know what's in China. If your social credit score gets too low, you can't do anything. They just lock you out of society. And that is exactly what they plan to do to all of us in the not too distant future. When, you might say? Well, I would take a guess by that 2030 year that they have an agenda for.
I know, yeah, we better get busy because I bet you our credit score is not up there too high.
Well, our regular credit score is great, but the social credit score is going to be piss poor. Absolutely, because I can't shut up.
Me either.
It's just not in me. Now we were talking about China. This is extremely alarming. Every American's now being scored by Palantir's AI for the IRS. Wait a minute. Wasn't Trump saying he's going to get rid of the IRS and we could just use tariffs? But why is Palantir using their AI for the IRS? It's happening right now. Palantir built Snap, an AI system that analyzes your bank accounts, Venmo, apps, everything, gives you a secret taxpayer score, and auto-generates ranked lists for audits, collections, or criminal investigations. No human needed to start the case. Proactive surveillance on all of us. This is the same Palantir, Peter Thiel's company, already deep in government contracts. Oh, absolutely. They went from helping with open cases to hunting everybody proactively. Privacy Act, Fourth Amendment, apparently optional. Yeah, is this really draining the swamp? Well, again, I think what it is they want to drain the swamp out of their competition, but, they want to fill that spot for themselves. And, I remember when Trump would show up at a UFC event and it was nothing but roars and big applause. And this time there was more boos than there was applause. And that was at last night's event. There was definitely a change. And his energy felt different to me, too. And honestly, there was a couple of things that he put out there that felt just kind of creepy. I feel like he's more under the control of the dark side than ever at this point, unfortunately.
Well, it felt very rigid. It felt very cutthroat. It felt very not him, but very determined and just all around had a really angry essence to him.
And other things, that I associate with the reptilian side of things. So yeah, the Polish psychic gets that he didn't really want to start this war. This is what the Polish psychic Krzysztof Jackowski gets when he's searching Trump's feelings. But he did because there was something that they had on him that he made the choice. He could have crashed and burned. Maybe his whole family would have crashed and burned. And that whole Trump empire, if he was, going to take one for the real big team, us, the United States, and the world, because obviously, there's a lot of people dying in other countries as well with the war. But no, he chose to go ahead and go along with, again, the coercion. So again, this is just what the Polish psychic picked up. And everything here is just for entertainment purposes and a simulated reality.
Mm-hmm, indeed.
Yeah, so, and I do think Krzysztof is very, very talented. So it feels like, I think he's done a lot of things too that have kind of told us a lot of statements over the years that, he knows the script. They all know the script. And, UFC itself is starting to feel a little more like the WWE. And I didn't tell Cindy when I went out, I had to make a run to Lowe's to get some supplies, and I stopped in the grocery store. And I don't think I do, but one of the clerks in the grocery store, nice young guy, he said, "Oh, you looked for a minute like that Shawn Michaels guy." And that was a WWE guy. And it didn't click who Shawn Michaels was. I had to look it up. And then, oh, yeah, I remember Shawn Michaels. I don't think I look like Shawn Michaels. I got long hair, and we're probably both gray. So there you go. Yeah, or at least have a good amount of gray. Over 60 members of Congress are now calling for President Trump's removal under the 25th Amendment. And the list is rising. Yeah, well, again. Oh, I see a picture of Pelosi there. We understand how the politics works, and we understand that everything is part of a script. But I would say I don't think that he's going to get removed unless, something like that comes out. I really feel... Unfortunately, the feeling is something's going to happen, because I do think there's an awful lot of, angry people out there that would do very, very, negative things. So, yeah, I feel like it's more like a Lee Harvey Oswald type thing that's coming. This was a little disconcerting. Breaking news, the globalists celebrate a blow to Trump and Orban after Hungary elections. Tisza party wins in a landslide. Fidesz crushed to 54 seats. So what does this mean? Orban ended up conceding defeat after 16 years in power. He was in power for 16 years. He resisted, Ursula and the EU side of things, and was one of the few, along with FICO, to really, resist, the globalist agenda. And I guess that's the best words to use. When I saw yesterday, they had him polling at 77%. He was supposedly getting 77%. And now it went to the exact opposite way, a landslide the other way. Somehow I find that really hard to believe. This is very, very, even though we know that, even the opposition is still kind of controlled opposition, seeing him lose like this feels very, very disconcerting. It feels like you kind of lost the EU entirely, and maybe we're going to lose Europe entirely to the big brotherhood. Not that the U.S. is that far behind, but at this moment in time, it's definitely worse in a lot of the EU countries. Absolutely. And also in Australia and New Zealand and Canada, where we have so much of our family and so many people that we love and care about. It's just sad to see.
Yeah, it is, and things are just slowly but surely sliding. But in a way, I mean, they kind of have to. For everything to get better, things have to kind of get worse.
Yeah, absolutely. So, exactly. So, as Scott, New York City, and Scott's been around for forever with us too. Hungary has been the only country that hasn't been invaded from other places because of Orban. And now they're just going to open it up wide. I just don't believe it. I just don't see how that could be. So it just feels like, to me, it just feels like what we've seen in this country.
Well, it's just more proof our votes don't count anyway.
I don't think they ever really did. And I don't know at what level they did. Maybe smaller things like your, selectmen or something. Town leadership at that level. But I still think it's so corrupt in so many places that it's very, very hard to overcome. 13-point lead with the opposition. That's just mind-blowing. So, because Orban kind of played the middle between Russia and the EU. So this is going to be this is something that could absolutely trigger Russia to take more action. The Irish government just said anybody protesting at fuel depots will face the full rigors of the law. As again, over in Ireland, you have people that come in from other countries and commit serious crimes, just like also in the UK and other places too. And nothing ever seems to happen. They get released right away, but you make a few bad tweets, you might be in jail for years. The Irish government's obstructing their internet connections. It truly is. I mean, I don't see how you can't view what they're doing as treasonous. And I don't mean the people, I mean the officials. Because aren't you supposed to be taking care of people that are citizens in your country? And it's just the opposite. Now, these people that do come in from other countries, a lot of those countries are getting abused by NATO countries, especially the U.S. when you look at the wars, two wars in Iraq, the war in Syria, and Afghanistan. We've had nonstop wars, as we know, which causes hardship, and people want to find a better life, so you get refugees. And they put programs out there to entice people, literally, the UN does, to become refugees. And so, everybody is suffering in this on both sides. But really, it's just part of what they do. They have a code name, Round Robin, that Cindy picked up on. This is a term that the Dark Matrix uses to talk about moving people from one country to another. It's been in effect going back to Anunnaki days, that this is what they've been doing.
Well, and it is a game to them, and they do have plenty of code words, but this is like one of the bigger games that they scaled down for entertainment for us to play. It's just, that's just kind of how it works. And I was just seeing Susan Donahue said in 2012 the movie Red Dawn events kick off with the EU with an EU financial crisis. That's right.
Yeah. Sin Havoc was asking, have you guys been feeling the pulses of the east and west coasts of the U.S.?
Well, I would say we're very, very sensitive, and there's been a lot of energy moving and shifting, so I could say yeah.
Yeah, it feels close, but it's felt close for a while. So I think they're just waiting for something. Hundreds of police officers across Ireland are calling in sick to work because they refuse to break up peaceful protests. This says we're seeing a major revolt against the government. Well, again, what we need really is a revolution globally, peacefully, a peaceful global revolution, and just change the entire way that we look at things and come up with all new systems. Go back to the past. So like I said before, when you look at the U.S., when the states first came together, there was the Articles of the Confederacy, not the Confederacy in the U.S. Civil War times, but before that, when the states actually came together, then we had the Declaration of Independence, and then we started to have the different amendments and things going in. The original intent was really to have no or very limited federal government. So eliminating in the U.S., if we just simply eliminated the entire executive branch and somehow either redid or eliminated the judicial branch, Supreme Court, either redo it in some way where you can't have people that are bought and paid for by special interests. Again, lobbying is bribery. And if you don't have as much resources as corporations like BlackRock, you're not going to get heard. So you can't overcome that. You really can't. So we need to eliminate it and go to something that would really truly represent the average people more.
I totally agree.
Now, this is really curious. We had talked about how many naturopathic doctors died in the 10-year period leading up to the plague upon the land, which was hundreds, if not thousands. And then you got this going on. Missing nuclear official becomes the 10th person tied to dark patterns surrounding U.S. secrets. This is yet another person with links to America's nuclear secrets that has gone missing. The disturbing list of death and disappearances in recent years continues to grow. Stephen Garcia, 48, vanished without a trace on August 28, 2025. He was last seen leaving Albuquerque, New Mexico on foot, carrying a handgun. An anonymous source told the Daily Mail that Garcia was a government contractor working for the Kansas City National Security Campus, a major facility in Albuquerque that plays a key behind-the-scenes role in America's national defense. KCNSC manufactures more than 80% of all the non-nuclear components that go into building the military's nuclear weapons. Garcia allegedly served as a property custodian at their New Mexico facility, giving him a top security clearance and broad access to the entire site's nuclear secrets. The source described his work as a very high-level, overseeing position for all the assets, tens, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars in equipment and assets, some of which are not classified, others would be classified. The government's contractor's sudden disappearance marks the 10th person with ties to America's space or nuclear secrets who has died or mysteriously vanished in recent years, putting U.S. national security experts on edge. Moreover, 4 of these officials have vanished without a trace in almost the same manner as Garcia, and all had a connection to U.S. nuclear secrets or rocket technology. Have you seen this, man? I've shared that I feel that there's that which we would call the globalist side of things, which has sold us out, you could say, to the Weefers, to the Soros, cabal, etc. And they want to shift power totally to China and the BRICS nations. And there are people within our government, absolutely, and the military structure that are probably bought and paid for and, well aware of all this. I got to wonder if we're getting close to the time when they are going to actively try to create a civil war scenario in the U.S. that will open us up for an outside attack. And are these people that just know too much and they have to cover tracks of what's going on?
I don't know. I'm just getting mixed information on them. I do believe that they are given an opportunity to work for what I want to call like the dark side, and if they don't do that, then something else happens to them. But that's the information that I've been picking up, and also that there's things that they know about AI and what's to come that they most likely can't sit on. But I am picking up that they're given a choice before they're taken elsewhere. It's kind of strange. I'd have to sit with it a little more.
Do you feel any government? I mean, do you see any color? Do you get like red for China? Do you feel, or is this something that might be tied more to that little country in the Middle East and the E-Man? Blue.
Asking for a color blue.
The color blue comes up.
I don't know.
Interesting. But yeah, there's something to do with a faction here. And I do think, again, these people could spoil the plans before it really starts to go down. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Multiple persons injured in shooting. Group of masked men storm a Chick-fil-A. There was a nasty stabbing in Raleigh. And then I saw that a few days before that, there was a nasty stabbing, again, multiple people, in Wilmington. I lived in Wilmington. I lived in Charlotte. I lived in Asheville. And then I was seeing there's been a lot of bizarre stabbings and things like that, which, you get those more over in like the UK and stuff where there's less guns. When we have it, unfortunately, it's a lot of times it's, with guns and stuff. This just feels a little crazy. An altercation and people started shooting. I just think people are losing it. A lot of people are losing it. A lot of people are being triggered. It makes me start thinking about things like MK, you know what? And it makes me think about nanu and frequencies. Because, we all know 6G is coming. And we all know that 6G involves technology inside the individual.
Well, they do everything they can to get the graphene inside of our bodies. And, many of us do regular detoxing, but then there are so many people who don't. They just don't know to.
Yeah, it's just getting very, very weird out there. Hawaii. Why has Hawaii had storms like this? This is the worst storms in 1,000 years, they say. Yeah, massive flooding. Back to back, 2 trillion gallons of water. 36 inches of rain in 24 hours. That's ridiculous. Once in 1,000-year storm events. What's causing it? With me, I would say it's technology. That's my cynical point of view on it. There are natural cycles. I understand the magnetosphere is in decline, but there's also HARPs, and there's all sorts of cloud seeding programs. There's all sorts of frequencies that are used as well. So there's a lot to it. I do think there is a natural component, but I think for the most part, what we've been watching is a lot of technology. 1,000-year storms, and then we got all this. It's like I wish they would come and land and show themselves and hopefully be the good guys, the real Galactic Fed. But we won't see the real Galactic Fed ever do that, I don't believe. physically, because again, they're mostly beings that are fifth dimensional, so they would just look like light beings to us. But I do think that they plan on showing us, maybe some of the Anunnaki themselves from the myths and legends.
Oh, I think they help and support us in so many other ways, though.
Interesting concept that Isabella and Gary brought up today, that some people that we take to be Homo sapiens sapiens, some key individuals throughout history, aren't Homo sapiens sapiens. They are actually Anunnaki, acting as if they're one of us. But basically, they are beings that have massive lifespans, thousands of years. And sometimes they'll portray humans. And of course, they can make themselves up to look certain ways. And we know there are shapeshifters out there. And, it was interesting because, if you look at it, absolutely, there's like look-alike celebrities to historical personages, and they can look almost exactly the same. Well, maybe it's because they are.
Maybe it is them.
Yeah, that was really very cool. And so here you go. Lots of these UFOs, UAPs, tons of objects all over. Here's a triangle, it says over the Santa Monica Pier. Look at everybody pointing up. So you got everybody pointing up.
Oh, wow.
Holy shit. Hey, you guys see the light on the bottom? Yeah. That's crazy, bro. Hey, look at it from my phone, bro. Look at it from my angle. I see that. Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah. So no, it's just AI. Yeah, it's just AI, sure.
I don't know, but if I ever see another one of those triangle ones, I'll be nervous.
Yeah, because they're not good news. When you look at those are these. TR3C. These things can emit energy weapons, and they can literally cause all sorts of health problems. We went through that because they followed us with this. This is exactly what followed us. It was, again, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And then, Zeke got sick and had multiple cancers all over his body. And he died. And, Sassy had growths, and Sassy's growths haven't gone away. Cindy and I both got really sick. And it was one of our own, because again, these are our own, but at the same time, a lot of times they will be manned also by greys and by reptilians, perhaps by Anunnaki themselves as well. Here you go. Here's more. There's more ships out there. I mean, they are just trying to show themselves now. And, again, when we go back to the Santa Monica Pier one, our own military is doing this too. Absolutely. There's a lot of them that are our own military. This is Costa Rica. Carpenter and Tarbaca filmed a metallic object. And there you can see it. Man, that reminds me of the spear that almost came and hit me in the head. You remember that? That was in, what was that town over in, Lancaster. It was in Lancaster, California. We were visiting a friend, and an orb came and was just like buzzed my head. It came so close, and we got it on camera. I've showed that many times to you guys. I could dig it up again. This is Costa Rica too. What the heck is that? What the heck is that? Is that a flying dinosaur? I mean, what the bleep? Tentacles changing shape. While standing in the backyard, a reflection caught my attention. Object was around 60 degrees high. At the same time, a Cessna C-208B flew over my head at about 1,000 feet above the train, heading south. Then the object began moving erratically, like being moved or pushed by the wind. I don't know. Is it an odd balloon? What the heck? That is a weird one. Very, very weird. And this is Perth, Australia. It looks like it's playing peekaboo. Peekaboo.
I mean, that one's really pretty. I think because we have bumped into a Bronze Age, I think we are going to be able to see some of these elementals as we should. And I think we're going to be seeing more and more and more.
We are in a new age, guys. We are. What we've gotten from the guides was April 8th, that day that we had that second of the X marks the spot eclipses, marked the end of the Kali Yuga and the beginning of a Bronze Age. We also get from the guides that there is a period of transition that may literally last a couple hundred years in transitioning to being in a full Bronze Age. But at the same time, in the Bronze Age, human lifespan can be in 4 digits. So I think there's going to be a lot of changes. How could that be possible, you might say? Well, it's because the very ether is changing. And the 4 elements, earth, air, water, and fire, come from ether. If the ether changes, the elements change. That means your body is changing. Yeah, you've been mutating. You literally have. And your DNA is awakening. So, this is the time when I would tell people that don't ever give up, especially if you got any sort of bad diagnosis. I mean, we always take the natural way of doing things, always. That's just us. But I would also never give up because I think we are in a time of miracles. The guides also said that. You have entered a time of miracles. And these miracles won't really even have to be fully dependent on technologies. This is over Mallorca in Spain. This was 5 days ago. And, this is a weird one too. It's a very odd object. You got so much of these things coming through right now. There's so many that are just so different. So different. When you go and you look at, and there's something flying by fast. When you look at the Vimanas in the Hindu mythologies, they're literally classified by objects that are solid and objects that are energy, because they recognize there are beings that use ships that are literally metal, metallic type structures, and there are other beings that use ships that are more like plasma.
Oh my gosh, there's so many, and there's the consciousness too about many other ships that are using plasma, and they connect. There's the plasma ship, and there's the one who is piloting the plasma ship. So that's oh my gosh, thank you so much, Bob Hawk. We appreciate that. Thank you. He says you guys are inspirational. Thank you. You're welcome. Aw, Frankie, thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. We love and appreciate you guys. This is definitely a labor of love for us. Honestly, lately we've been so freaking exhausted by the end of the day, but we love doing these lives with you guys, and we love covering everything. This is such an important time. And it's always darkest right before the dawn. Well, that's where we're at. If I wanted to equate this to, like, if the sun's coming up at 6 a.m., it's 5 something right now. It's looking pretty dark, but it's going to get a little darker. And then I do think that the light is going to shine brighter and brighter. And, I think that there is a chance that if enough people wake up and understand that a lot of these beings are nice, they are benevolent, and they're kind of cheering for us to figure things out. if enough people truly, truly put it out there, that they would love an intervention from the benevolent ones or any sort of aid they could give us. You have to ask to receive. So, I put it out there, and that's what I do with my meditation and mantras every day, always asking for help from the guides. Because ultimately, when we look to beings like White Buffalo Calf Woman, who is she? We've talked about her over on Heart's Ohm. That's the smallest channel we have, the newest channel. It's all kind of spirituality. Well, literally, she's a Pleiadian starseed that incarnated here and had a life as a Native American, but ultimately, she's from elsewhere. Again, she's a being that has had lives in different planets, different star systems, but came in to try to teach and guide us and to try to show us what really life is all about, and kind of also let us know that we've been under the influence of very, very dark beings that haven't told us the truth of our existence.
No, I think there's that one commonality, if you look around, that humans, what you'll find when you continue to research and study is that humans are a lot more than what we are told, and our abilities are really held back quite a bit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Our abilities are through the roof. I mean, it's mind-blowing what we truly are able to do when we take care of our body, our temple, when you activate your pineal gland and you're fully awakened, then it's just mind-boggling what we can do. And we could actually ultimately outdo the Anunnaki, that take credit for making us. But the reality is, again, some of us are entities that have had more lives than the Anunnaki have and have experienced more things. They've gotten stuck. They're stuck. And their technology has enslaved them. But yeah, there's a lot of beings out there. This is cool. They're just skipping rocks, and then they're like, wait, what the heck?
Un grupo de amigos disfrutando un día de playa.
Yeah, classic UFO. Classic UFO shape there, the flying saucer. Yeah, I don't know. Do you sense anything on this one? What those are? Are they grays or no?
Not at the moment.
And how about this? Look, can you imagine looking outside your aircraft window and it's right there?
No, that one does feel like a little gray or two in there.
Wow. Yeah, that's one of those little teardrop. It's right over the wing. Well, it's just AI. Yeah, there's nothing to it, I'm sure. Yeah. Oh, it's just a matter of enjoying the rain when it's raining, enjoying the clouds, hoping that they're not all chemically laden. Because, the water, Mama Earth is going to wash away the muck and the mire of this dark control system. So, we have to navigate through the turbulent waters of, this dark control system's demise. And then, again, be in tune with Mother Earth, because she will let us know when there's going to be floods in one place and earthquakes in another. She lets the animals know. We have to, again, realize that we can be that in touch with Mother Earth just like they are. We just have to reach out and, ground and root every day. Have a regular meditative practice.
Indeed.
As I say that, there's some strange light in the sky out there. It was blinking and then staying stationary. So I don't know if it's Big Brother or if it's one of the good guys. But Cindy's got her forks and she's going to give us a couple dings.
Indeed. And another, again, a huge thank you to Miss Susan D. over there on Ko-Fi. Thank you, Susan. Bob Hawk and Frankie Big Blue Pup, you guys help us keep it going. So here we go. Set those good intentions for a better world, and let's do this together. Source bless and namaste.
Loka samasta sukhi no bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may my own thoughts, words, acts, and deeds contribute to their happiness and their freedom. Thank you guys so much. We love you guys. Namaste.